Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Public Eye. My name is FUNMI, and today's topic is on population. To be exact, population control. So, well, Nigeria is perhaps one of the highest growing populations in the world. It is certainly the country with the highest number of black people in the world. What does it mean for Nigeria's development? Do we already have a population crisis on our hands, or is this something to face in the future? What will be the lot of the people that are being born into this country daily? And what are the projections for the future? Those will be the conversation focus for today. I enjoin you to come with us as I take a break. When I come back from the break, we will start the conversation in full.
Nigeria has one of the fastest growing populations not only in Africa, but also in the world, with an average growth rate of over 3%. As of 1994, the population indicators of all countries showed Nigeria had 119.3 million people and would reach 285.8 million in 2025. In the last census held in 2006, Nigeria's population figure was given as 140 million. The effect of this steaming population in a country where a larger percentage of the populace lives in poverty is homelessness. According to a 2019 Forbes report, Nigeria's large population puts at least 8.6 million homeless children on its streets, which accounts for a large percentage of the 10.6 million children who are out of school. Several societal ills, including child marriage, unemployment, housing deficit, pollution, inadequate health facilities, conflicts, high cost of living and crime are associated with the astronomical increase in population we have in present-day Nigeria. Yet many Nigerians are yet to fully understand the need to embrace well-tested methods such as family planning with a view to bringing down the rate of population growth. Some Nigerians do not see anything wrong in having as many as 6 or 10 children. An example is the feat of Mohammed Bello Abubakar of Niger State, who in his lifetime married 120 wives, divorced 10, fathered 203 children, and had a few more pregnant at the time of his death in 2017. Homelessness causes severe trauma to children and youth, putting their health and safety at risk and hampering their development. It also creates a population of outcasts who cannot contribute productively to society. It begs to say that if adults can't take care of children, they shouldn't be allowed to have them. This may be one way to control population growth.
Hi, welcome. It's Public Eye, of course, and I'm in the studio already with my first guest. We're going to be talking about children. Actually, we're going to be talking about people and how many people should a nation have. I'm glad that she's joined us this morning. Her name is Mrs. Titilayo Adeniji. She's a vendor and she's got 5 children. Miss Adeniji, báwo ṣe máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà? Ní mo dúpẹ́ wà dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ mi. Ọmọ 5 lẹ ní àbí? Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run. Ọkùnrin mélòó, obìnrin mélòó? Obìnrin 2, ọkùnrin 3. Obìnrin 2, ọkùnrin 3. Àwọn ọkùnrin lẹ kọ́kọ́ bí àbá ọmọbìnrin lẹ kọ́kọ́ bí? Obìnrin, ọkùnrin wá tẹ̀lé. Obìnrin, ọkùnrin wá tẹ̀lé bẹ́ẹ̀. Ọmọ mélòó ló wù yín láti bí? Nígbà tẹ́yìn kọ́kọ́ tẹ́fẹ́. Bó ṣe wù mí, ọmọ 3 ló wù mí. Ọmọ 3 ló wù mí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni. Kí ló wá ṣẹlẹ̀? Ṣé ọmọ nǹkan tó ń pè ní ìgbéyàwó nìyẹn? Nígbà tí mo bí ọmọ pé 3, ẹ̀sẹ̀ kò lè bí ọmọ. Bọ̀ mo sì yọ̀hún, mo kéré. So nǹkan tọkọ mi bìlì fún mi pé tí obìnrin bá sì kéré bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n máa ṣàgbèrè. So ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn wọ́n á rí pé ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn fẹ́ da marriage yẹn rú. À ń lọ ìlú òkè, à ń pa ẹmọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ọmọ ìlú òkè láti máa ń parí ẹjọ́. Apá àbọ̀ nílùú òkè? Òun jẹ́ ọmọfẹ̀, ìjọba Èkìtì. So a máa lọ. Àwọn ìyá kan wá pọ̀ pé kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Wọ́n sàn ká bímọ sí. Ìgbà tó máa sọ pé mi ò láìkẹ́ láti kékeré tí mo ti kéré gan, mo láìkẹ́ ọmọ 3. Kọ́lọ̀ máa sọ bọ́lá gbèsè bọ́lá dẹ̀ ti kọ́kọ́ fún mi náà ni mo fẹ́. Mo ṣe fẹ́. Mo wá gbà. Mo bí ọmọ yẹn pé 5. Ṣé mo kò sí ìyàtọ̀ rẹ̀ ṣe nínú ìgbéyàwó ní ìmọ̀lúkọ tá a lè péjú ìgbéyàwó lọ. Because tó bá sọ pé nǹkan kan wù ẹ́ tí ò bá wù ọkùnrin wàhálà ni. Dẹ́mọ̀dẹ̀ tún rí rò pé ọkùnrin alágbèrè ló máa fẹ́ kí àwọn òbímọ tó pọ̀. Ẹ̀tún yẹn sọ mí ọgbọ́n. Ọkùnrin alágbèrè olóma ní pé ìyàwó mi fine, wọ́n lè bá mi fẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
tí mi rí túmọ̀ kan sí gbà yẹn pé mo sì kéré gbà yẹn pé
sẹ́mọ̀ kọ́kọ́ ṣe ìgbéyàwó yẹn ọmọdún mélòó?
mo wà bí ọmọ 21 years.
21.
Yes.
So bàtẹ́ máa fi bí mẹ́ta yẹn ọmọdún mélòó ní ìgbà yẹn?
mo lè nígbà tí máa bí mẹ́ta yẹn mo tún wọ́n sí bí ọmọ bí 28 ṣá.
28. So ẹ ṣì young dáadáa.
So mo rí pé nǹkan tó ń fa wàhálà ni ọkọ mi dẹ̀ jẹ́ ìta. So òun rò pé bóyá ẹ sáwàdà bó ṣe ń ṣe yẹn ó wù mí.
bóun ṣe ń ṣe lẹ́yìn náà ṣe máa ṣe.
èmi náà máa ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ pé ìyàwó ń ṣì kéré. ló wà pé dandan ọmọ mọ́tàdé wa bímọ pé márùn-ún máa sọ fáwọn ìyá yẹn pé mi láìpẹ́ tó gbà tí mo fẹ́ gbé mi rí gbé rárá. mo máa ń sọ tipẹ́ pé bíi 30 years kí n ti bímọ tán. ọlọ́dẹ ń fún mi ní orí ọ̀fẹ́ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n ibi tí understanding ọkọ tèmi ò gbé.
So lẹ́yìn tẹ́ wá bímọ márùn-ún yẹn tán marriage yẹn fún ẹ̀ ń kọ́?
Nígbà tó di last year marriage yẹn dàrú. Ó dàrú last year because the same thing náà lórí ìbíta rẹ̀ àwọn rò pé tọ́pọ̀ àti ẹ̀wá tí wọ́n ń jà lórí nǹkan kan ní gbogbo ìgbà tí ọkọ bá pàyàwó ìyàwó máa pọkọ. So la ṣe decide kọ́ká a sì jọ wà ní area kan náà a jọ wà ní area kan náà but.
ṣé ó fẹ́ kẹ́ tún ṣì bí ọkàn yẹn fẹ́ kẹ́ tún bímọ lẹ́yìn ọmọ márùn-ún?
Rárá kò fẹ́ but ìgbé ayé tó ń gbé kò tẹ́ èmi lọ́rùn torí pé kí ìgbéyàwó yẹn bá lè dùn tí àkókò yìí ló yẹ kí n fún ní orí ọ̀fẹ́ àti bí ọmọ márùn-ún but wọ́n á rí the same thing náà ló ṣe tó pé kò change nǹkan yẹn wọ́n á jà kan tó mọ̀ràn tí ìgbéyàwó bá dẹ̀ wà tí àwọn bá ti ní dùn kò ṣe ìgbà yẹn kò ń ṣe mo á rí pé inú mi ò kì í dùn mi ò ń dùn náà dì torí nǹkan tó ń ṣe ó sì ń dùn mí pé the same thing tọ́kùnrin ló máa stop kò stop ẹ̀ náà so nǹkan tó ń ṣe ni pé tó ń bá fọmọ táì ní dáhùn kò sí nǹkan tó fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan tí mo kọ̀rọ̀ pé kàn ọgbọ́n tó kàn lò ní so àgbèrè yẹn wá ń pọ̀ jù àwọn kan wá ń jẹ́ nǹkan tí mi ò like má rò pé táwa kú depart afẹ́ bẹ́tà.
ṣùgbọ́n báwọn ṣe ń ṣe àgbèrè yẹn ìyá mi pé àwọn náà tún lọ́mọ tí wọ́n bí síbòmíì ni.
Yes.
So ọmọ mélòó lọkọ yín fún rẹ̀ náà bí?
Ọmọ méjì.
Ó lọ́mọ ọmọ méjì mi.
Obìnrin mi yes.
Ọmọbìnrin méjì mi. ìyá mi pé òun gbé ọkùnrin sìn ó sì lè máa bímọ.
ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́yàwó gan recently.
So ó ti fẹ́yàwó mi.
Yes.
So wọ́n á tún bímọ mi.
Á tún bímọ mi.
So ẹ̀yin sì ọlọ́mọ márùn-ún. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run. Ṣùgbọ́n ta ló wá ń tọ́jú gbogbo ọmọ márùn-ún?
Èmi ń tọ́jú àwọn ọmọ. Bí àgbà tó pàjọ wà lérí àkọ́nà bí àtàwọn ọmọ yẹn bá lọ bá ń gbà mí bí wọ́n á rí pé ìkẹyìn jìjà ó kàn stop àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ mọ̀ lọ bá mú. Mo ní kọ́ mọ̀ lọ bá mú kọ́ fi sílẹ̀.
Torí bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ bí mo ṣe ń wò ó obìnrin sóbìnrin mo rí pé ẹ̀dùn ọkàn ṣì wà ń bẹ̀. Ẹ̀dùn ọkàn yẹn ṣé fún márèjì yẹn ni àbí fún pé ẹ rí ibi ṣe nǹkan tí ohun ẹ̀yin ṣe lọ́kọ̀ pẹ̀lú ayé yín?
Mo rí ìgbéyàwó yẹn bí ẹ̀tàn ìgbéyàwó olóńdò mi. Mo rí bí ìgbéyàwó ẹ̀tàn pé jẹ́ kí n lo ọgbọ́n ẹ̀tàn láti jẹ nǹkan tí mo fẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀yin. So nǹkan tó máa ń dùn èmi nìyẹn. Tó yẹ pé kì í ṣe ìgbéyàwó ẹ̀tàn tí obìnrin àtọkùnrin bá wà kálóbìnrin kẹ́tẹ́ ọkùnrin ti ṣe nǹkan tí ò dá tẹ́lẹ̀ obìnrin ti ṣe nǹkan tí ò dá tẹ́lẹ̀ tẹ́ bá ti fẹ́ra yín wò pé kí ìyàwó àwọn nǹkan yẹn bọ̀lẹ̀ tẹ́wọ̀n pé ti dẹyọ kan bó tí ẹnìkan ní wọ́n bá ti wá ń ṣe nǹkan yẹn gbogbo ìgbà ní ó máa máa dùn ẹnìkejì so èmi bí mo rí bí ẹ̀tàn.
Kí ló nígbà tẹ́yìn ń dàgbà kí lẹ̀yin fẹ́ fàyè yín ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀?
Èmi sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ pé tí n bá pé bíi 30 years tí mo ti stop ọmọ tọ́lọ́ bá bless mi fẹ́ ṣe business kí n máa lọ kí n máa bọ̀ tó yẹ pé àwọn ọmọ yẹn ò ní lè disturb mi láti ṣe ọjọ́ ọ̀la tó dára fún àwọn ọmọ yẹn náà nǹkan tó wù mí tí mo máa ń sọ láti kékeré nìyẹn pé tí n bá dàgbà tí n bá marry mi ìfẹ́ kó ju bí 30 years lọ èjì tí máa bímọ tán so after àgbà ìmàlẹ́ yìí sẹ́yìn pé tí yẹn bá tètè bímọ tán ẹ wò ní èjì tí mo sọ third born mi sì tí mo sọ ń gbà yẹn ó dàbí ọmọ 12 years sínsìn sẹ́yìn pé mo lè filẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹgbẹ́ bí wọ́n fẹ́ lọ rajà àwọn lè mójútó ra wọn ẹ̀rú ìgbà tí mo fẹ́ gbé tẹ́lẹ̀ mi.
kí lẹ̀yin kọ́?
Mi ò kọ́ṣẹ́ òwò tó pé ọ̀dọ̀ ẹni tí mo gbé òwò là ń ṣe ìgbà tí mo dẹ̀ ń bọ̀ tí mo lọ́kọ òwò yẹn wọ́n gbé fún mi mo ń tà wọ́n dá mi lóko.
ṣùgbọ́n àtẹ kọ́kọ́ fẹ́ ọkọ yẹn tẹ̀ ń gbé ọmọ mẹ́ta yẹn ṣé òwò yín ṣe ń bá yín lọ ńgbà yẹn ni àbẹ́ fọwọ́ òwò yẹn?
mo ṣiṣẹ́ ńgbà yẹn mo ṣiṣẹ́.
ṣiṣẹ́ òwò yẹn lọ so kí ni ọmọ ní ṣe pẹ̀lú òwò?
Nǹkan tí ọmọ ní ṣe pẹ̀lú òwò pọ̀ ṣe nígbà mi àwọn òwò kan wà tó yẹ pé kò fún yàn láàyè láti máa gbé ọmọ káàkiri bí tẹ́ ẹ bá lọ síbi tó jìnnà ẹ wò bóyá tẹ́ bá pàdé odò irú ọmọ yẹn bí orú bá mu àwọn ìrìnàjò kan àti ẹ̀ bá lọ tó bá jìnnà jù tó ẹjọ́ ọmọ tó tètè máa rí gbọ́ ọmọ yẹn máa gbóná bó tó yẹ pé òwò téèyàn ń ṣe tó yẹ pé ọmọ yẹn ti ṣe gbélẹ̀ tí ẹ bá lọ tẹ bá bọ̀ ẹ lè bá ọmọ yẹn ní àlàáfíà mo lè sọ pé òwò téèyàn lè gbọ́ ọmọ ṣe ni pé kódà tí wọ́n gbọ́ ọmọ lọ máa 12 gan tó láti jọ ọmọ tó kéré tí wọ́n ń gbé rìn kiri nínú máa 12 yẹn tó bá máa padà dé no ọmọ yẹn á sì gbóná díẹ̀ so nǹkan tí mo máa ń sọ nígbà yẹn pé òwò tí mo dẹ̀ ń ṣe nígbà mi sẹ̀máàdì pé òwò tó yí sí gbogbo mi ti máa ń rajà pé ìgbà tó ọ̀rọ̀ ọkọ mi kára mọ́tò ló máa ń gbé mi lọ sékòó sẹ́yìn pé ẹ̀kẹ́ pé bóyá mo ń sáré wọ mọ́tò kò jẹ́ bóyá nínú ọjà mo ń rìn kiri ìgbà mi tẹ́lẹ̀ tó máa ń tajà máa ti pè wọ́n ìlú à ń bọ̀ ọ́ à ń ṣe máa rajà ẹsẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ máa kú òǹbẹ̀ bọ̀tọ́ ti pé à ń gbọ́ ọmọ kiri nínú ọjà ẹ lọ ra kan bẹ̀ ẹ lọ ra kan bẹ̀ tẹ́ bá ti gbọ́ ọmọ ẹ lọ́tẹ́ gbé bọ̀ tó bá pọ̀ ọmọ tí ò bá dágájá dáadáa yẹn máa sọ ọmọ ẹ̀dá lárùn tó gbogbo ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀mọ̀ jalè oríṣiríṣi òwò ní ọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ lẹ́ máa lọ tó bá ń gbọ́ ọmọ ẹni gbogbo gbà ó sì kọ́ ọmọ ẹ̀dẹ̀mọ̀ tó máa sí so lèmi ṣe wò ń gbà yẹn pé gbèsè tí bá fẹ́ ṣe nǹkan kó kọjá létí táwọn ọmọ máa pé bí 10 years tí máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ business wá ti dàgbà wọ́n á lè tọ́jú ara wọn ṣùgbọ́n ìgbéyàwó tèmi ò fààyè gbà.
ṣé ìgbà tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣègbéyàwó ẹ bá ọkọ yín sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yìí.
no àjọsọ but ẹ mọ̀ pé nínú tí ọkọ àti ìyàwó bá bára wọn rìn nínú nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ ẹgbẹ́ máa fi ṣeré fúnra yín èmi kàn máa sọ nígbà yẹn ni pé bó ṣe wù mí o tí bá ti bímọ mẹ́ta tọ́nà bá bless ẹ mo tiẹ̀ máa ń gbàdọ̀ pé kọ́nà kó bless ẹ so á lè fún mi lówó gidi mo lówó tó wù mí ṣe òwò ọ̀dọ́ ẹni tí mo ti gbé yẹn ni mo fẹ́ máa ta àwọn ọjà tó dé òṣètò ẹ pé èmi gá máa ṣe jámájàmá ó máa ń rẹ́rìn nígbà yẹn pé òun láìkẹ́ pé tó wá tiẹ̀ bí méjì kan mo ní mi ò bí méjì torí mo fẹ́ yá kó jẹ́ the same thing pẹ̀lú nǹkan tó bí mi tún ní bí kéré sí wọn màá bí sáìsì tán bí so nǹkan tẹ́mi ní plan yẹn but.
nítorí pé nísìnyí ọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń sọ generally ni ọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ èèyàn ló ń bímọ nínú ayé ní ìlú wa nísìnyí wọ́n á bímọ wọn lè tọ́jú ọ̀rọ̀ tí yín da àwọn kan tiẹ̀ máa bímọ yẹn wọ́n máa kó wọn lẹ́nu mo mọ àwọn ẹlòmíì tó pé wọ́n á jẹ́ pé ọkùnrin tí ò tiẹ̀ níṣẹ́ dáadáa tó á bímọ akólẹ̀ fún ìyàwó kìíní á bí ọmọbìnrin àwọn ọmọ míì akólẹ̀ fún ìyàwó mi so tọwọ́ tóbìnrin gangan tún yàtọ̀ sí tọwọ́ ọkùnrin tá a bá ń bá wọn sọ ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n tó bá ṣe pé ẹ̀yin ti sọ nígbà yẹn pé ọmọ mẹ́ta tí mo bí yìí mi ò bímọ mọ́ mi ì fẹ́ bímọ mọ́ pé mo rẹ̀ máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń lo máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń ṣètò ìbí ọmọ nínú ilé ṣọkọ yẹn á gbà.
kò ní gbà kò ní ó ń gbà kankan mo dọ́gbọ́n kan tó yẹ kó mo lo fètò sí ibọ̀ tó mọ̀ tó gbogbo gbàgbọ́ ẹ̀ nígbà yẹn pé ìgbà tí mo sì kéré yẹn ẹ̀ lè mọ̀ pé mo ti wọ 30 years ìgbà fún bí ọmọ 20 mo èmi gbàdúrà pé mo young so tí n bá fẹ́ lọ rajà mo rí pé a máa ń jà tí bá tó máa nà mí gan ó lè ẹ mọ̀ pé láyé ìgbà yẹn dẹ̀rẹ̀ tí ò tí ì sí bí a ti ó dọ̀kú máa ń pọ̀ lọ ní Èkó tí bá lọ sí Èkó ńgbà yẹn bẹ́ẹ̀ a máa jà tílẹ̀ máa fi mọ́ ni ó lè ní mo ya bò gbàdá ìrìnàjò òkú ò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn sẹ́yìn pé ó ti ń bí wà láàánú yẹn mo rí pé torí ọmọ tí mo sọ pé mi ò bímọ yẹn ló ń di wàhálà so ìgbà yẹn dẹ̀rẹ̀ mi ò tún tí ì gbọ́n tó báyìí nígbà yẹn oyè ò tí ì yé mi ṣe understand kálóye bá yé nígbà yẹn kan tí mo sẹ́ǹsì ní ìbáṣe nígbà yẹn
kílẹ̀ bá ti ṣe máa
ìbá ti fi sílẹ̀ nígbà yẹn bọ̀tì oyè òye wá gbà yẹn pé tẹ̀múra tí wọ́n wò pé nílùú òkè wọn gba ti single mother lọ títí pé ọmọ lè dá dúró wọ́n máa rò pé kò ṣe kan tó bójú mu àwọn òbí yẹn làwọn à ń sá ẹnu wọn là ń sá fún gbà yẹn tó yẹ pé mo mọ̀ pé èèyàn lè dá dúró ni no kò ní tó àkókò
kálẹ̀ mọ̀ pé èèyàn lè dá dúró kò ní tó nítorí ó lù yín ẹ̀yin rò pé ẹni tó bá ń lù yàn ìyẹn gan tó láti filẹ̀.
yes kò sígbà tí ó kì í lù mí àfi ìgbà tó dé stage kan ó ní kí n mọ́ tajà mọ́ mo wá rí i pé tí n bá wà nílé bóyá bá jà tó pọ́sẹ̀ kan láti jà kò ní fún mi lóúnjẹ kó tó tún sì wá yarí pé ìyá yìí ti pọ̀ jù náà nígbà tá a bá jà wọ́n ló ní kí n má ṣe kí n wà nílé níbi tí mo gbé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ mọ̀ mẹ́ta tí mo tún táwọn ọjà kan tún táwọn ilé ni máa wà látàrọ̀ dálé ó pì fún àkólọ oúnjẹ wá níta fún mi dẹ̀wọ́dẹ̀ ń ṣàgbèrè èmi ò rí nǹkan bí ìfẹ́ o ọ̀tọ̀ nífẹ̀ẹ́ ọ̀tọ̀ ní ìlara mo rí yẹn bí ìlara tó dá pé fẹ́ ni ìwà tó gan wù yẹn kò ní wù èmi kò dẹ̀ ní rí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìka ọkùnrin.
ṣé nísìnyí tẹ́ ti fojú inú àtòjú àgbà wò tó bá ṣe ọmọdé obìnrin ló ń sọ pé bí mo ṣe fẹ́ ṣe ayé mi nì kí lè bá sọ fún.
tí n bá rí ìgbé ayé tí ọkọ ẹ̀ ń gbé pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ tó bá ní bí mo ṣe fẹ́ ṣe ayé mi ò lè blame ẹ̀ tó máa ń sọ fún àwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ọmọbìnrin tó wà tá sí wọn sọ pé wọ́n ṣe kinní kan wọ́n láwọn ò má rí mo máa ń rẹ́rìn Mo ní tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn bá rí ìrìn ayé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ lè sọ pé ò máa rí. Torí ìgbéyàwó ọjà òkùnkùn ni. Ọjà òkùnkùn ni. Ọlọ́run fúnra ẹ̀ ló máa ń tàn mọ́lẹ̀ sí. Ọkùnrin ò lè mọ inú obìnrin tán. Tá bá ń fẹ́ra wa lọ́nà, obìnrin ò dẹ̀ lè mọ inú ọkùnrin tán. Ìgbà tí èèyàn bá tó fẹ́ràn yẹn rẹ tó mọ̀ wọ́n kálukú. Ìgbà tó bá ń fẹ́ra torí nǹkan tó bá ní kọ́kùnrin ṣe ló máa ṣe ń gbà yẹn. Torí pé nǹkan tó fẹ́ gé. Understand me? But tẹ́ bá ti wọlé àjà tẹ́ bá ti wá ní oyún fọ́kùnrin. Ìgbà ló máa jẹ́ kẹ́ mọ̀ pé irú èèyàn tó ń jẹ lílé.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe ń wò yìí sí tí mo jókòó síbi iṣẹ́ mi ò mọ ọkọ, mi ò mọ circumstance. Nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe gangan yẹn, tẹ́ ẹ ro yẹn, bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí lójú èmi nìyẹn. Lójú mi báyìí sì pé obìnrin yìí ẹni tó ní business bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe gbéra yín nìyẹn. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sọ́nsìn, mo ti ṣe calculation gbà tẹ́ sọ fún mi age yín, mo ti calculate ọmọ tẹ́ sọ pé mo ti calculate lè ju bóyá 40 àbí 41 lọ. 40 àbí 41. Ó bá ní kò bàjẹ́ o. Kò tí ẹ bá pàápàá débi kó yá fi bàjẹ́. Nǹkan tẹ́ fẹ́ ṣe yẹn gangan. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe àti bímọ tó ń sìn? Ṣé ti ṣètò sí?
Kò tí ẹ sọ kọ mú.
No, ẹ lè sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ o, ẹ má máa sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lè dọ̀lá sí mo bó ṣe máa mo ti ṣe charity tí mo kó àwọn obìnrin jọ. Mo ti lẹ́ni tó pé 45 aṣọ pé àǹtí Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ rí búrẹ́ mọ́ mi ò tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n kàn dé lọ́la ni wọ́n tún ti mọ́kùnrin kàn dé pé àǹtí nígbà tí mo wà lọ́jà. Ẹ má rule out.
Ló máa ń celebration.
Ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tá a fẹ́ sọ ni pé kéèyàn wà ní capacity láti lè tọ́ àwọn ọmọ dáadáa. Nísìn bóyá ọkùnrin wá o, bóyá ọkùnrin ò wá o, kò mátà. Ṣùgbọ́n nǹkan tó mátà ni pé ẹ̀yin lẹ lára yín. Ẹ̀yin lẹ máa take care pé ibi tí Ọlọ́run ibi tí mo fẹ́ kó dúró sí èmi àti Ọlọ́run ti ṣàdéhùn yìí, ibi tí ó gbọ́dọ̀ dé ni òpin sí má rè. You know, the only thing mo kàn fẹ́ sọ fún yín láàrin obìnrin sóbìnrin bá ṣe jókòó síbi ni pé ẹ wò ó 40 péré ni yín. Tẹ́ bá máa fi pé 80, 40 mi àtúntì bọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Ìyẹn mi pé ẹ ní 40 years láti fi ṣe business, láti fi build gbogbo nǹkan tó wù yín ṣe ń kékeré yẹn. Ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ látẹ̀ní. Ẹ má wọ̀ lámọ́. Iwájú lọ́ba ọ̀pá ẹ̀bì tí ń ré sí. Nǹkan tẹ́mi kan lè sọ fún yín nìyẹn. Kò jù yẹn lọ. Àbí àǹtí. Torí èmi fẹ́ wá ṣọ́ọ̀pù yín pé ẹ̀ ń ta báyìí kí n yànjọ́ kọ̀ pé ẹ jẹ́ àti ẹ̀yà sọ́dọ̀ àǹtí Títí. Wọ́n náà ń ta báyìí ká wá rà lọ́wọ́ yín. Ṣé ẹ bá mi kí àwọn ọmọ iṣẹ́ sí?
Wá gbọ́.
All right, that's our conversation. I know most of it was in Yoruba, and I hope that you could read the translation there. When we come back from the break, we're going to take the larger issue around population, around childbirth, who has control over the woman's body, what the options are for men, and what we as a nation should be looking at in terms of the number of people we need and we want to build the sort of nation we want. After the break. Right, welcome back. It's Public Eye, and our conversation today is on family planning and population control. I'm joined now by a really good-looking panel of experts, and I will start from the lady directly in front of me, and that's you, Kadijat Aminu. Kadijat is a trained family planning expert. She's a nurse and midwife also, and she's had many years of providing care and training in family planning at several levels in government and private organizations, from state to local government and national levels. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Pleasure to see you.
Same here, ma'am.
Right. Right beside you there is Professor WUSU. Professor Onipede WUSU is a professor of Demography and Population Studies and Sociology. He holds a PhD with a specialization in those studies, and has done many works around the issue of population control and understanding, you know, just how societies should work. Good. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
A pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Finally, last but not the least, and traveling all the way from Ilorin today is Ms. FUNMI OMISOPE. Is it OMISOPE? OMISOPE. So Ms. OMISOPE is a development professional, and she has specialty in child rights advocacy, health, and child education. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. So we've all heard it. Here they say, I can count more, follow more. Basically, they are saying no children is too many children. Is this true? Let me start with you, FUNMI. Is no children too many children?
No, definitely no. I think the pocket of the parent will say what number is too much and what is not. Because I deal with street children, and there are some of them that have 13 children. There's a particular family, I took the 12th delivery because there was no nurse, no doctor, and all of that. And when you think of their income, even one is too much for them. Now they have 13. So definitely, that saying is not right.
The reality is, in fact, in the Nigerian context, even one should not, you don't just start it too early. That's for me. It's not just pocket. It takes more than pockets to bring up children, in particular our context.
Right. Because I remember once in Nigeria was a 4-child policy. I remember in the 90s we were so young, but everybody, they drummed into our heads. I remember saying to my dad that, how many are you going to have beyond?
That's what,
like
policy.
And yeah, that was an old policy.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what the current policy is or if there is a recommendation other than the UN recommendation. So what Nigeria recommends, you tell us that. Okay. But tell us about the uptake in terms of use of family planning with families as you've seen.
Well, when you talk about like the number of children that is spearhead of a person, not only the money or anything that they've said, we also consider the health of the woman that is going to carry the pregnancy. It's absolutely important, not because the man is financially capable, then he can have 4 or 5 children. Do you understand? So we consider the health of the woman and her age is very, very important. So apparently, you may consider maybe 2, they said, 4, but as a woman, you should not have more than 5 for your health. At most. Even when you are in your 5th pregnancy, we already called you like a grand motive. Like everybody has to be on decks when you want to deliver that baby because there are risks of many complications. So when you talk about it health-wise, maybe 2 might be best. Health-wise, even if you're going to go through the knife, maybe C-section and everything, you can have 2. Do you understand? Then your age, the age you're having that too also matters. Once you're above 35, whether you're having your first child, like the first time you're getting pregnant, or that's the 3rd or 5th time, once you're 35, you are at risk of 1 or 2 things already.
Don't we need many people? So some people have said, that we shouldn't be looking at population as a disadvantage. That having a huge population makes us a formidable country in the world. So whether or not we can afford the number of people, we should use this as an advantage to muscle over other countries.
I think you and I know that that one is just, I wanted to be too raw. Let me adjust to say that they were too myopic. Around 88 or so, that's 4-child policy. The assumption initially, even before that time, was that Nigeria, we are blessed, we have resources, we have all that. Population was not a challenge, but I think towards 88, the reality, dawned on us, and we realized that Babangida's regime then, that something had to be done, because even the resources we have, if we cannot put them to good use, the resources will be there idle and nothing will happen. So for me, the number of children that we have, and then we are saying that, a large population is an advantage. That is the optimist. There are 3 perspectives on this relationship between population and development. The optimist, it's an advantage. The pessimist, where I belong to, my school of thought is the pessimist school of thought, that if you have population and you cannot develop the population will be useless.
Now, I wanted to ask Khadijat that in terms of dealing with everyday issue, in the family, how easy or difficult is it to get the average family to do family planning?
It's somehow difficult. to convince somebody that is not interested in family planning to do it is absolutely difficult. And when we look at it, it's rooted into many things. Number one, ignorance. They feel by telling you, like when you advise them to do it, or we don't advise actually, we counsel. When you counsel them to do it, they feel you're doing it for your own selfish interests.
In what way?
Like, maybe, for instance, for the government, you don't want them to have plenty children for population control. Absolutely. And, we're working for the government. They feel, they are paying you. If you don't do it, they're not going to pay you and all that. Then at a point, we let them understand that this work I'm doing it fine, I'm getting paid. But you patronize, you utilize the service you don't utilize. I'm still going to get paid. That's it. Family planning is free in Nigeria. But you still get to, struggle with them to accept it. Then another one, there are people that actually want to do it, but their husband is a problem. Their husband did not support it. Then for religious purpose also, there are a lot of people getting it wrong that even Christians, there are some churches that they go against family planning. The same way some Muslims also said they shouldn't do family planning, but it's actually like a rumor or misconception, because even in the Quran, the prophets actually recommend family planning. It might not be modern method, but there are other natural methods that they actually advise them to do. But because of the failure rates of natural methods, that's why they have the modern methods and all that. But when you're trying to convince somebody, like just a natural person who is not aware of family planning, you're trying to convince them to actually opt for family planning is actually somehow difficult. It's rooted to ignorance. They are not aware before. You're trying to tell them, then they're like, they don't want to learn new things. They don't want to unlearn whatever they know about it and relearn. The another thing is, we like call it peer pressure now because they are adults, like maybe friends, because some people, family planning actually have side effects. There's nothing that doesn't have side effects as far as I'm concerned. So because this person used family planning, she reacted. Then she tried to tell her friend that, that stuff I reacted to it. Then that particular friend will pick it that, no, I'm not doing it because this person reacted to it. Not knowing that we have individual body composition. The way you react to it, I might not react to it that way. Then another set of people, they want you to, as a provider, they want you to tell them which is best for them. And when you tell them, they believe once they use it, they are not supposed to have any side effects.
Let me ask this question. A lot of the family planning recommended in Nigeria, how much of it is targeted towards men and how much is targeted towards women?
Just one. No, let me say two, but that's the condom and the permanent method. The particular permanent method is irreversible. And let me say, significant percent of men would not opt. They don't opt for it. Let me say, maybe I've just seen 2 per person in Nigeria that have actually opted for it. And the first person is the professor that is like preaching for it. So he has to do it so that people who want to do it. The another person is one allergy in the northern part. It's very rich and has lots of children already, has money. And once he has anything with anybody, they will just come with pregnancy. So he was like, I need to do this so that I myself, it's only me that knows I cannot impregnate anybody. So let me see the bagger, let me see the person that is going to bring pregnancy to me. So that's the way he said it actually in Hausa, It was like, after doing this, after doing it, you have to wait for like 3 months before you confirm if it's actually now active. So after the 3 months, they said, oh, allergy, you're fine. I said, what, like? And let me see the person that is actually going to bring pregnancy to me. You understand? So it's the only one that is, that's the 2 scenarios of people that have actually seen that opts for the permanent, because it is irreversible.
Professor, once again, it's easier for men to do birth control. If a man says, I want 2 children and I will get a vasectomy, he will have no more children. And it doesn't affect him in any way.
Yes.
If a woman has a hysterectomy, she suffers because her ovaries, she goes into menopause immediately. If they tie her tubes, they're still. So actually, planning is most easy for men. It's either he uses a condom or he says, you know what, I don't want to use condom because I love you very much and we're very loyal to each other. See me rolling my eyes. then you get a vasectomy. So, but I want to raise this conversation beyond individuals because you used the example of Singapore and Lee Kuan Yew. We know about China's one-child policy. We know what India did too, and these are countries that had to really face the population control issue. So at a point, the state, the nation should supersede the individual. Where if you know that it's a crisis, because when it becomes a crisis, then you declare a position of emergency.
Exactly.
And you have to put policies, policies, and incentives
to encourage users, yes,
better behavior. So
China did that.
Yeah. So is there any one? Are we at the kind of time where we should be thinking of much more tough, stance on population? Do we have that kind of?
I've even proposed that in some of my writings, that we need to take a very, tough stand on population control. If we don't do it, habits. Sexuality is something that is beyond just this thing we are saying in the mouth. It has some emotional component, and it drives. Somebody describes it that it's like earthquake. It can cause an earthquake. That's the way it drives. So, and when it becomes a habit, it's not easy to change. So, and I think what can make people to adjust, maybe not perfectly, but at least adjusting in a way that we begin to see the impact on the size of the population. Some kind of rules, tough policy. Like China, one-child policy in urban centers. Like in cities in Nigeria, for instance, one-child policy. But Nigeria is using a subtle method. A subtle method of a hard, tough but subtle, is this issue of education. If you have 3-4 children, you pay school fees. What I want to suggest, if you have 1-2, like some of us now, your child will be qualified to enjoy some, scholarships. That one will be okay. So everybody then encourage that. I shouldn't have too many. I'll be able to go. That is subtle, but also impactful. But the style Nigeria is using, also coupled with our horrible kind of attitude towards human development status. It is the one that if you have too many children, will kill the public education system. Primary school, your children go there, they get nothing, so you send them to private. You pay more money. And they feel that should teach them that, look, paying more money in the private schools, it means that you have to reduce. But Nigerians also develop another way around that. Rather than saying it's tough to get money, they now find different ways of making illegitimate money to make that. So I don't know what can work. But what I think, which I have suggested, is we should make it tougher. FUNMI,
what do you think? Because that was very interesting, saying that, of course, Nigerians tend to go around. What do you think, madam? What do you think will work on a policy level that's implementable?
Yeah, like what he mentioned, when people see the punishment attached to it, the repercussion, I believe
what kind of punishment? As somebody said once, what can you punish somebody who is chronically under punishment? If you say go and sit down, let's say has been standing down for 10 years. Where now? So
there are a lot of things that actually needs to be corrected.
Revolution. We need revolution, actually.
I think it's not hard for them to pass a policy. There are a lot of policies.
And I think we are riding on the population. I served in the north. All the Alumanjeris have PVC. There's a community we just adopted in Ilorin. 75% of them are blind. And there's a polling booth within the community, no school. And we've been saying, okay, give us bus because we have a school for them outside the community. But the king of all the beggars in Ilorin was given the boss, a blind man. So
you're saying now there's a political advantage to using children, creating a population bulge for political leverage.
Something like that.
I did not see that coming.
No, can I say something, ma? It's there already. So is the poverty, like what I mentioned during my inaugural, that it's like the poverty is a tool in the hands of our political leaders. keep the people poor and find them easier to manipulate. So it's an advantage to them as long as people remain poor, because it's a culture of poverty. Childbearing without control is a culture of poverty, and it will keep it on from generation to generation. So they see that as a good thing. So if you look at most of them, they don't have too many children. And they send their children to Harvard and all that. They come back to reign over them. If they don't have these people maintaining this culture of poverty, who will their children reign over? So it's an advantage, and that's why the revolution requires we, the masses, we should take it up. Not like what happened, something better than what happened at, what do you call that thing, what happened around the toll gates last year. So not just that, but something better. And then it should start from the lower level, and these people will pick race. Okay. But how do we?
I would like to say something. Okay, earlier on I mentioned a woman that gave birth to 13. She had lost 5 of them. And I told her, your children will become doctor, lawyer, and what have you. But will you still be alive? She was giving birth to herself in 1989. I call her Mama, even though I'm older than her. And she told me, Mafumi, carry me go anywhere. Let's go and do this thing. Because they're from Niger Republic. So even their culture doesn't support it. And I said, I can't just carry you. I need to tell your husband. When I explained to the husband said, I trust you. Go do it. And we did 5 years. They were shocked at the hospital when we got there. The 5 years, by 2023 now, I have to call them to remove it from her hand. Because I'm certain, assuming we didn't do it for her, maybe she would have given birth to 16 more. It's like every month. You know, even when I delivered the 12th, and within how many months, they told me, Mama, don't born. I said, I didn't see her pregnant. And she gave birth to 13th. We almost lost her. But now I saw her picture. She's back in her country, very healthy. So I believe trust. And that is why in the North, they don't like taking vaccine for polio, because they believe it's birth control. So they told me, how is it? These polio people come to our house room by room. They didn't bring food. They didn't bring money. What is it in this drug? Government wants to reduce our children. So I had to make them understand that, no, it's for your own good. Because there are some of the children we take care of that are crippled. And I told them, now, if we should hear bam like this, where will he run to? Then they brought one on, there's something for 35 to 45 vaccines they were bringing. I had to take it, even though I didn't want to, but to encourage them that government doesn't want to kill us, it's for our own good. So I believe with trust and talking to, gradually, their mentality will change. Yeah, and they will start doing what we want them to do.
That's good, because I was going to lose hope. Thank you for giving that, because I do think that human beings are not completely irrational. And I do also think that sometimes we are not communicating. We talk, but we're not communicating.
Exactly.
And what is needed in one region is different from what is needed in another region. I think that there's a need to understand what culturally matters to people, and to be able to communicate with them in a way that what you want to propose to them matches their real aspiration. And as Professor said, there's also a lot of human element and shame elements attached to many, many things around this. Because I love the idea of policies where you then give incentive. I would love, if I knew one thing that all Nigerians want, that I can say, okay, have only 2 children and I give you this. And Nigerians will be like, oh yes, that's what I want, and just have the 2 children. I would say, let's do that. But I don't know what it is, and it could be something that we then ask our audience, because I found that when you talk to the audience, ideas come like none of us on the table have thought about already. But before I go to that, I wanted to ask you, and Kadijat in particular, that do you think that what is done now communicates to people locally and in different regions in a way that resonates with them?
The best would have been picking somebody in that community, like somebody they are aware, that they are familiar with. Then reorientate the person, know their culture. What did they believe about family planning? Did they even know what family planning is? Did they even know that family planning is not just when you don't want to have child again? Like, you don't want to have any child, you can be for breastfeeding and all that. So let that person, that's the policy I can propose that they can do. Because when you talk about just writing something, that a lot of written policy that has not been implemented. And even right now, at least there are some other countries that you pay for family planning, but in Nigeria it is free and they are not still taking it. So at least it's very expensive in other countries, and that's one thing that the government have done. So another thing they can do is each community, you get somebody from the community, try to educate them. That is why they have the primary health care center in each community. But even the chairman of that particular local government, they are not even doing anything in that particular place. So I think if they are going to do any policy, it should be the local level, that's the chairman level, not maybe the state or something. The policy should be more rooted to the local level. Then each community should present 1 or 2 persons, then they have a kind of maybe a conference or seminar on family planning, tell them the importance, and so those people, they cannot give those particular people incentive. So those people can work more so that, they won't think they are just doing it for free. And the community may sense to take it more from them because they are their people. They feel this person is our people, is our child, and he won't want bad thing for us.
All right, I'm going to take a break. Whilst we're at the break, Prof, I wanted you to think through this, that is there a boiling point for Nigeria? So, for example, will it get to a point where it becomes inevitable, whether we like it or not, because the population will completely overwhelm the resources? Right after the break. All right, welcome back. We are going to take questions, and comments from the audience. I'll start with you.
You said something involving not having more than 2 children. So I was like, if it's possible for us to put an advantage after having people that have only 2 children, then there should be a disadvantage to people that have more than 4. If you want to implement a particular thing to a society, the best thing is to use their leaders. People believe anything their leaders say or do. So for the religious group, for the Christians, you go to the pastors, the priests, the Muslims, you go to and for the communities, you can go to the kings. Anything the king says, that's what goes. And if he believes it, they will believe it. Thank you very much.
Right.
Is overpopulation actually affecting our economy? Or is it one of the causes of what is happening in our economy? Thank you.
So, Okaro had an interesting suggestion that, it says the reward as the carrot and stick, which you approach.
It should be done indirectly. If we do it directly, through so-called community leaders, it may not have any effect because of corruption. But indirectly, through the school system, you have 1, 2 kids, maybe provision of books, provision of this. But if you have more than 2, you will pay higher fee, and then you are going to lose some of those things that those who are having, and that can send very strong signal. And then habit is not easy to change, and sexuality is part of something habit. But with time, the system will adjust. But the level of corruption now, anything done directly, will just be one of those things.
The leader, they should right the wrongs first.
Yes.
Those things that have been wrong, they should try as much as possible. Like the basic things that we're lacking, they should try as much as possible to right them. By the time they right them, not bringing any policy, people who want to, it will be easy to implement.
Right.
But in a situation whereby I'm the one feeding myself, going on the way, I can't even take public transport, I have to book Uber because public transport is going to be so stressful and all that. I'm doing more to make myself
that doesn't
comfortable.
do much for the people.
They should
In the
not
first
hesitate.
instance, cannot even give. It's not a state. Cannot give you carrot or stick. You already get only
Is there a
stick.
community that does not have lights?
Which is the question.
Then you bring family to their leader.
Which is back to what she then said, that
Is
our population
The problem.
the problem or a result of the problem?
I think it's part of the problem. Our population is part of the problem, and can also be a result of the problem. Because by the time, for instance, in a situation whereby we have maybe a graduate that does not have work, that particular graduate, before he finishes from school, have a girlfriend. Do you understand? And apparently they may be having sex. Now he's out of school, does not have any job. Then they have an unplanned pregnancy. That baby is going to suffer. That baby have added to the population. But in a situation whereby there is work, do you understand? And immediately he come out from the school, he got a good placement and all that. He got married. Then by that time, he might think of not even getting married. Even if he have child, he has something to be able to use to raise the child.
The truth is the population is one of the major causes of even our economic situation. Because for economic to grow, you need savings. Domestic savings is the best. All these foreign saving we are encouraging, they bring in the money, make their money, and take it out. So the impact is not long lasting. But if individuals can begin to check their sexuality, their reproduction, having fewer number of children, having something to save in the bank, small here and there, so there is money in the bank for business men and women to borrow and invest. And when they invest, they create employment. So they can come out from school and get job. So, and this employment will maintain, and then will continue to make progress. So it's actually a circle. And that I made up my mind that if Nigeria will not do something, I must do something. And that was why I made up my mind from day one. Before we got married, my wife and I, we agreed only two, whether male or female, none of my business. And we had two girls, beautiful girls. And I was okay. And I am trying to maintain. Then others who are having it anyhow, they want to be feeding on the one I'm trying to save. It's not easy. We can't do it like that, because I also need to, I took a decision that I can also produce. I can also produce, but I took a decision to benefit. And you are producing anyhow. You want me to be the one? No. So if individuals can take such decisions, the little corners here and there, we begin to improve our own life first and gradually improve the society.
But there's a point to make before we go there, that even in this culture, at least in Yoruba, is the term omobere, oshibere. That means many children suffering
Long
many
list of poverty.
Long list of poverty. So our national poverty is related to that, because even the quality of people you get in the country matters.
Yes.
So if you are not able to skill, even this thing about fighting back against greed and corruption, if the quality of thinking you can get in the country is too poor, you know, the number of people who think poorly will overwhelm
the one that are trying to.
You know, so it is a very
It's
important.
a serious matter.
We'll take a couple more questions and we then begin to pack our bags to go home.
I just want to ask a question. I don't know, are there recommendations on controlling population control in Nigeria?
On a lighter note, I don't know if there's another cash phrase we could use for the term family planning. Maybe sometimes when you mention it to those ones that are ignorant about it, family planning scares them. If there's a catchphrase we could use that could buy their attention. Currently, the rate of unwanted pregnancy in our country is rising high due to the ones that are not even knowledgeable about family planning or what have you. How do we pass this that we are learning to them?
Okay.
My question is that in a situation whereby the woman said she was going to give birth to just 2 children, and the 2 children happens to be a female, like he said earlier, and you know in this country, they refer male more than female. Like, what do you expect the woman to do? And you know, family now, they'll keep coming and like, we don't have an heir, you did not give my child, and you know you don't want to lose your husband. In a situation like that, do you expect the wife to like, okay, I'm not going to give birth, I'm going to do family planning, or she should still keep giving birth till she see? Yes, because it happens a lot. She should keep giving birth till she see the heir. Thank you.
Okay, I will advise your generation that you should take care of all these concerns before you get into it. One, the kind of man you choose. Don't allow religion to choose for you. You can allow God to choose for you, but no religion. Now, settle these facts. let it be written, not just verbal discussion. I know emotions sometimes overtake the reality, but take your time and iron out this thing, written down. Let the man be a man, not the family, but he should be the man. Let the woman also be a woman, not the family, because not only the pressure does not only come from the man's side. Sometimes it comes from the other side as a result of their concern for their. So the two of you should take your decision, and the pressure will come as usual. But make it like you are using it to bath. You continue your way, and if the two of you are like this, it will be impossible for any family to change that thing. So that is what you should determine from now and pursue it. If two ladies come, who says women are not children? Who says, like the director here now, is not a wonderful child for the parent? Who says my daughters are not wonderful daughters? Who is saying that? Is that old this thing? It's no longer that way. So just take that decision, and that aspect will be taken care of. You have no problem having whichever one God gives you, you manage it.
Yes. Thank you. She said something that I smiled at when she said, "Who will be the heir?" Heir of what?
Heir of what? I have that problem now.
Yes. Yeah. What are you really inheriting?
Yeah, inheriting what?
Nothing around.
You know, and then also, I also hear people say it all the time, how to save my marriage. I'd like to hear more people talk about how to save myself.
My life.
How to save my life.
My life instead of marriage.
You know,
I didn't
how
really
to
take
save
note of that.
my life.
My life.
Who am I as a person, as a human being, first and foremost? It would be very nice to hear people talk more about that. We talk a lot about institutions, you know, unless we are building institutions to build us. You know, institutions should not supersede the person in that regard.
I think somebody asked about calling family planning and other things. I think that's coming from the fact that we've been deceived for so long. Call a spade a spade. It is family planning. It is contraception. It is not to stop you from not having plenty children. When you want to explain more, I think everyone here have that assignment. You can tell your neighbor about it. Then when you are trying to tell your neighbor, try to tell them that family planning is not just to stop you from getting pregnant. It's for child spacing. If you want to have 10, you can still have it, but give them space. In the process of giving them space, you already know that at least if you are 28 by the time you have your first child, you give like minimum of 2 years space, you have your second child. Before you have up to, are you already going like 40?
Yes.
And now let the person know that once you're 35, if you don't have infertility issue, you don't have any problem, you've been giving birth before you are 35. Once you're 35, maybe at that 35, maybe that should be your last. If you don't have any problem. You know, I know there are some people that they've been married, they have infertility. It's understandable. But now, maybe I'm 25 and by this age I got pregnant, I have a child. I don't know what I want to be giving birth to by 35.
And
of course,
if you delay childbirth in the process of becoming a better person, you also have better resources to take care of yourself at that point.
And
exactly.
Understand.
And that's understandable. But if you have been born before,
exactly,
and you want to born again, delaying childbirth to better yourself, so you're in a better place to have children, is a different conversation and a good option.
Exactly.
Than if you've been having children from age 19 and continue to want to have, because then you are already exhausted your resources.
Your system are not same anymore.
But if you have been spacing, by spacing it, you likely, by the time you get to 35, you would have had maybe just the right number. You should stop there. You know, there are two reasons for wanting to develop yourself before. Nobody should be allowed to have children unless they have developed themselves. Economically, mentally, emotionally. Nobody should be able to have children. Actually, that's my own position.
27 is recommended for
exactly. You know, you should not have children until your children should not have children.
No.
You know?
No.
One, it's unfair on the children, isn't it? Two, it's unfair on the society and the parents and everyone, you know. So focus on yourself first. What is the current government's recommendation for Nigerian population?
You see the four this thing that we are this time, and then encouraging spacing.
4 per man or per woman?
It's still per individual actually. It's per individual. And then the spacing is very important there. But the policy, the implementation is, well, the newest is February, and they are making moves to see how it can be implemented.
Yeah, because I was going to say at the end of the day, first it goes back to the issue of reorganizing the society so that the laws you make can actually be implemented. Because some of those things that we see in those other societies, that they also have problems with it, but then they are grappling because, for example, if you have a child, whether you're even married to the woman or not, if it can be ascertained that this is your child, which they can do through a paternity test, you are responsible for that child. The state will take the money from your pocket directly. They will not consult middleman. It will come out of your pocket. So that changes behavior. You know, of course, that too can be abused, but it means that so many things, so that even a woman in a situation, if you have a man too, if a woman is making your life miserable in a marriage, you can also say, you know, we can't work at it this way, and there are laws to protect you either way. But what I would like to leave with young people is a term, I've been using it quite a bit, is don't abandon yourself. And that means don't abandon your responsibility to yourself. Don't also abandon your care of yourself. So many of the things that we romanticize in culture, we glamorize in culture, we popularize in culture, and not just our culture, even internationally, is a form of acceptable self-abandonment. Think about it when you're at home. All right, I wanted to thank everybody. Thank you, FUNMI, Professor, and Kadijat, also Titi earlier, who told us her story. Titi, I wish you all the best. As I said, I look forward to a future where I will come to see your business and buy something from you as a full-fledged businesswoman that you always wanted to be. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Join us again next time. You know that if you want to continue the conversation, you can do so on all our platforms, on and offline. I'll see you again soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.